puts up a three. Won't go. Rebound Bosh. Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining.
Welcome to the Ultimate Super Coach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Boom shakalaka!
Yes, g'day guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Insight ANZPL show. Yet again, another very special guest in the studio with us tonight. We can't wait to introduce him, but before we do, the show is brought to you by The Standard Squeeze, helping you drink responsibly and conveniently, and of course, Ryan from Astute Newstead, looking after all your finance and brokerage needs. I'm the brain, and I'm joined by the big horse, Mickey Dell. I don't know whether you're the biggest horse in the studio tonight, mate.
Debatable, because we have another one of our 2K royalty here in the Australasian servers.
Very excited. We were very privileged, obviously, recently to sit down with Harry, who played for NBL Oz Gaming recently in the 2K League. And here we are, privileged with more Australian 2K League royalty. Milo, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks for joining us.
Appreciate you guys having me on here. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
We've got a few good questions for you, mate. Just to, I guess, give everybody a little bit of insight into what it's like to play at the top level. We'll explore your 2K League experience as well, which is exciting for us to get into. I'm sure a lot of people are aiming to get to that level themselves. We'll also talk to you about the ANZPL. We know that you've been heavily involved in the ANZPL for a long time now. But, mate, before we do that, guys, if you're watching us, please subscribe, hit like, comment below if you have any questions for Milo as well throughout the show, because I'm sure that we've got a lot of people wanting to get to that level that would love to pick your brain, mate. So drop your comments below. We'll get them to you, and I'm sure that you'll be happy to reply to those people that drop those comments. Mate, you've got quite a strong 2K history. You competed for the Pistons gaming in 2021 as the first Australian to ever make it to the 2K League, which is pretty cool. We want to talk about that, but firstly, mate, I'd love to know what got you, or I guess a little bit before even 2K. Did you play basketball yourself? Were you a baller?
Yeah. So I played basketball throughout, my entire life since I was like 6 years old, just locally in my town. So I played for like years, and then sort of that got me into 2K, just, enjoying basketball itself. And then so when I wasn't training for basketball, I'd be playing 2K at home and didn't really take anything serious from it. But that's sort of how it all really started.
So there's like a deep passion for the game there on both levels.
Yeah, enjoyed it out of the actual game itself. And then when I play the game, I just try to replicate what I did, out of game. So it was just awesome.
Yeah, cool.
So which 2K was it that you started on? Or was it pre-2K? Was it an NBA Live or?
Yeah, like I played the NBA Lives on like GameCube. Like this is like years ago, but nothing like serious, like maybe like once every week or something. But like proper actually was probably NBA 2K 16 was like my first actual proper NBA. So I sort of just played like park, no like pro-am at the end of the game, but mainly just sort of park. And then basically there was three pro-am teams literally. So it was my team, which was Team Lockup, Exy, and another team. So there was literally 3 teams in the entire server. So we pretty much started pro-am in this region really. So I've been around since like a long time, a while now.
Since the beginning,
Yeah.
That's cool. I was actually thinking maybe you would have even played like earlier. To see that you've jumped on at 2016, I suppose it gives a lot of people hope that started around that time, that you can, over a short period of time, realistically 6-7 years, get to what you've been able to do, or even 5 years to get to the 2K League. That's a pretty awesome effort, mate. But we know that you're a center. You play the center position in 2K, but when you started, were you a guy that just gravitated towards that position, or did you play guard? Tell us a bit about your My Player journey.
So 2K16, I just play My Park, and I just play point like guard, just because I just found it the funnest in Park, and I was pretty good at it at the time. It was a long time ago, and our center from Team Lockup actually just like couldn't play anymore. He was moving overseas. So we needed a center. So then we had a backup shooting guard. So he ended up just playing shooting guard. And I basically picked up playing center. Never really played it before. Didn't really enjoy it really at first, to be honest with you. But I actually just picked it up pretty well, and I was decent at it. So then I started seeing success because I was streaming a lot back in the day. I started seeing a lot of success from American players coming in my stream, and then I sort of had that reputation on that position, whether I didn't actually enjoy it a lot at the start, but I had that recognition. So I sort of that's why I sort of stuck it out. And obviously I enjoy it now, but actually to the beginning, I actually didn't really enjoy it, to be honest.
What was it about it that you didn't enjoy? Was there anything specific that made you not enjoy it?
Well, because I was playing like park a lot, like I had the ball in my hands like a lot more. So then when I went to playing center, it was a lot less, especially in that era of what we played. It was a lot of point guard and shooting guard heavy. And I was basically a board grabber, realistically. But then obviously the meta sort of changed, and the center is like one of the, center scoring like heaps now. So it sort of changed a lot. And yeah, obviously I enjoy it a lot more now.
Yeah, fair.
So yeah, you talk about not being familiar with the role, jumping into a center and then getting the recognition as playing as a center, getting a lot of reps in and honing in your craft from there. What are your biggest influences on your 2K career, I guess? Who were you looking at early on and going, yeah, this is a guy I want to be like, or yeah, I like the way this guy goes about it?
Yeah. Well, when I was streaming, I didn't know too many of the guys like to start with, begin with, until they started coming into my streams. I remember Dayfry was a big one. He was like one of the first guys that sort of came into my stream. Him, Moody, who's the coach at NBL Oz Gaming now, so he's been around for ages, so he was coming into my streams. So those two guys in particular, and there's a guy he's not in the league anymore. His name was Goofy. He played for Portland and he won the first ever championship in mixed gaming. So those three were sort of like the main ones that were around for a while and sort of gave me that recognition at first, at least. So I always looked up to them and I always was like watching those streams because I knew that they were the best of the best players. So I sort of replicated my game off them. And that's how I sort of progressed, I guess, is watching a lot of the American Pro-Am.
Do you kind of gravitate towards any maybe YouTubers now or anybody that like all of the content creators? We know that NBA2K, that wherever you look on YouTube, there's people with, putting out awesome content, and it's that time of the year where we start to get pretty excited about the next 2K, which we'll talk about later. But is there anybody that you gravitate towards?
Not. I like watching Fana. I know he puts out a lot of good videos. He's a point guard, which I like to watch, but more sort of like the 2K League players in particular.
Yep.
I sort of like, because obviously they're the mode that I play, competitive 5v5, where a lot of the content creators are sort of park and that. Obviously they're great to the news and they put out good content, but I more gravitate to the 2K League players.
Yeah, that's fair. That's your realm, obviously. So it makes sense.
Yeah,
mate. Before we move on to your experience in the 2K League specifically, we want to find out a bit more about that. But we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. The show, it can't run without them. Give a shout out to Ryan from Astute Newstead. And, for anybody who's wondering maybe what the best bank is or whether their current rates are a little bit too high, is their dream home even affordable, you don't have to wonder anymore because Ryan is a good sponsor of the show and a good friend of the show from Astute Newstead. He can give you confidential lending advice with no obligations attached. You don't even need to get pigeonholed to one lender. And he's got access to over 50 lenders, including the major banks. So you don't even need to go and talk to the banks yourself. He'll do all the work for you. So you can get in contact with him. It's a free consultation as well. You can reach out to him on 0431 766 784, or you can hit him up on Instagram at Ryan Astute Newstead, and he'll look after you if you let him know that we've sent you. So thanks to Ryan for supporting the show. Now, Milo, we'd love to talk about your 2K League experience back in 2021. I'm sure it probably feels like yesterday for you. Even though it's a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Talk to us about the draft experience, man. Like, how did that whole process go? Like pre-getting drafted. Talk to us about that.
Obviously, like I missed out a few years in a row. I made the draft pool, and then going into season 4, basically sort of did the same sort of thing. Really, qualified for the draft pool. Played the combine, did pretty well in the combine. I sort of marketed myself out of the game a lot more that year. So that's sort of what put me ahead, and I think that got me picked as well. But pretty much, just sort of had a good feeling about it, and sort of, put in a lot of effort in over the years. So then sort of got a few mates from the community that I'm still friends now, and we sort of just got a apartment in the CBD, and we were there in the morning for it. And when my name got called, it was pretty crazy feeling because they just sort of they just called me on my phone, like an American number. And they just said, "Did you want to come to Detroit?" So yeah, it was, mate. It was like an unreal feeling. So it was just like it was just crazy, man, crazy.
I wonder if people these days would just reject the call. Oh, unknown number.
Yeah.
Shit. I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Let that
So,
go
I
through the
won't
message
lie.
bank.
I've done that a fair few times. Yep, absolutely.
yeah. So it was pretty insane, man. Like it was like all the work that I put in sort of paid off. So it was an amazing feeling.
Yeah, that's cool. And so we obviously had Harry on a couple of weeks ago to have a chat with him, and he fell asleep before they let him know that he was drafted.
really?
They were trying to call him, and he wouldn't answer his phone. Apparently, the story was, and had to call
Yep.
him back at whenever it was, and hop on a camera
Yeah.
at 6 o'clock in the morning. So funny little
Jesus
story.
Christ.
Lucky you stayed awake,
yeah.
mate.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, luckily.
So you played as an anchor for the Pistons or the power forward. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Tell us about that. How did you come to playing the 4 with the Pistons?
Yeah. So I came in as a 6-man, and then I ended up playing the 4. I think I played 18 games. I was I think it was the most used 6-man in the league on season 4. So I played 18 games at power forward. To be honest, it was a little bit of a jump because obviously I've played it before in ANZ, but playing it at the elite level, it's not something that I played every day, let alone on that game altogether. I was mainly I think I just had a center. I didn't even have a power forward. So I basically jumped in pretty much out of the blue with like 3 days practice on it. And it was quite a jump because over there they play a lot differently. So I had to adjust to a lot of things, but the first game I had, we 2-0'd the Kings, so we did fairly well. Like we lost a few series, but we ended up making playoffs with a position that I've never really actually played at that elite level. So it was challenging, and I feel like I did a decent job at it. It's just I wish I just had more experience on it. I didn't think I'd get thrown in the deep end like that, but it was good. I think it was good for me though. Very good experience.
Be good for the confidence as well that you've gone across as a center, being drafted as a center, being thrown in as a 4 or an anchor, as the 2K people would see it as, and holding your own and doing quite a good job at it.
Yeah, I felt like obviously it was definitely challenging, and playing the 4 was like one of the hardest positions. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge, but I think I learned a lot from it.
You said earlier that they play. Sorry, Del. Yeah, they play a little bit different over there. You said earlier.
Yeah.
Can you explain that a little bit more? Like, what's the difference between playing over in the States versus what you were used to back here?
Yeah, well, it comes down to because they play so much, because obviously you're playing full time over there. The chemistry is just a lot better than this server, and it's nothing like a dig at this server. It's just more, you're playing with the same players for 8 hours a day, so you know exactly what everyone's doing. Where everyone's got work here, you might play for 1 or 2 hours. You got to fill in stuff like that. So with the chemistry being on point, everyone knows exactly what they're doing on the court. So the rotations are just way better. Just everything, because exactly what everyone's doing on the court. So it's just a lot smoother. And just like the defense is just a lot different over there. I think Harry's explained it a lot as well, since he's had his experience, and Jacko when he went over. So it's a slightly different play style, and it's just sort of, I think the chemistry aspect of it is like a big factor of why they're so good at of what they do over there.
Yeah.
And now you're playing as a center in the ANZPL with New Era. Did you find that your experience as an anchor in America playing in the 2K League helped you be a better center here in Australia?
Yeah, so like obviously I was playing power forward over there. I didn't play much. I played 1 game on center at the end of the season, but it was more just overall as a player. I noticed when I came back, and I was just like a lot of things that I wasn't good at, I was a lot better at. Still need improving on some things, but it's just sort of just like the overall aspect of the game, I could say. The knowledge of the game playing over there and then coming back here, defense, offense, play, sort of stuff like that. So I think that mainly comes down to, obviously, if you put, 10 hours a day into something, you're obviously going to be better than someone else. So in the 2K League, you're putting in 10 hours, constant hours of scrims. You're playing the game more, that is your job realistically. So you are going to be better at it. So I think the experience over there and, being accountable for what you do just made me a better player in general.
Yeah, fair enough. The more time you put in, the better you're going to get. It's pretty stock standard with everything that you do, mate. But let's talk at the top level in the 2K League. Who do you consider to be the best center in the 2K League? You said before you obviously follow a lot of the content, and that's kind of the stuff that you follow. Who do you think's the best at that position right now?
Coming off this season, I think NBL center was pretty good. Jerry, sick one. I played against him in pre-draft 2 years ago. I thought he was decently good, but he was insanely good in the league this year. But there's many of the centers that are really good. But he's probably the standout at least this season that I saw was pretty insane. Native as well from Warriors Gaming was really good. Low-key godlike from the 3v3 champion was an insane popper. Like there's so many good centers in there. So yeah, you could say really anyone, to be honest.
Yeah, cool.
Talking about the 2K League again, Harry gave us a bit of an insight a couple of weeks ago, but talk to us about, like you said earlier, that it's basically like a full-time job. You're scrimming for 8 to 10 hours a day. What's that like? Are you in the same room together? Are you on different, computers at different areas or houses, or how does that all work?
Yeah, so my season was a little bit different because it was prime COVID. So a lot of it was online. Besides the finals, I believe was in Dallas when we were there. But pretty much, you wake up, you have your own apartment, and then you sort of go to a practice facility, which ours was downtown Detroit, and then we sort of like scrimmed there from it was like 10 o'clock till about 6 p.m. at night. And you do 3 scrim blocks of like a best of 3. So it's like pretty intense. And you do that 5 days a week, 5, sometimes 6 days. So it's the way we explained it when I was talking to Harry, it's sort of like you got to be there to sort of like, you can understand it here, but like once you actually do it and realize how much hours is actually put into it, it's so it's a long day. Obviously it's enjoyable. I love 2K, so it is enjoyable, but at the same time, it's like it feels like you've actually been at work because it's very long days. That's how to pretty much explain it.
It's funny, isn't it? It's like first world problems. I'm sure that a lot of people that had listened to this be like, I'd love to be able to do 2K as my job. But regardless of whether you love it or not, 10-hour days are 10-hour days. So I can imagine sitting in front of a screen for that long would be brutal.
Yeah, it's so like you could be there for 10-hour days, sometimes 8 hours. It just changes up. And then like, you might be studying some sort of team, so you might be there longer. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Mate, we've got some highlights of you from the 2K League from your time with the Pistons. So we'll roll those now. We'll get to enjoy those, mate, and then we'll move on. Pretty impressive work.
How did your teammates not go hype for that snatch block? It was stone quiet.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I snatched him and then I fell out of bounds. Like it was actually a turnover. It was crazy.
I was going to say,
I think they were hyped in the room. I think they were, and then it turned over and we're like, what the hell?
Yeah, I heard you got the worst animation ever. You step out of bounds, you hear the whistle, and you think, "Fuck, that's a clip," and then you realize you've gone out. I liked it.
Yeah.
It was what is that your favorite clip from that lot?
Probably. I had a few clips of me on center, but I don't think they posted on the league page. I've got the video saved, but yeah, those were probably like some great highlights against the Mavs.
Yeah, nice, good stuff. Mate, want to talk a little bit about ANZPL? You've been a part of that for a long time, and obviously big supporters of the show here as well. We're lucky enough to be working with ANZPL very closely this year and going to be doing a weekly show centered around highlights and a bit of recognition for the Australia-New Zealand server. So we're going to be doing a show every week talking about who did well, looking at the games and the highlights. And, ideally we want to make sure that the players over here are getting the recognition they deserve overseas as well. So, mate, tell us a little bit about your experience in the ANZPL. You're with New Era at the moment. Tell us a bit about the last couple of years that you've been with them.
Yeah, so we've been in a team for a few years. we've had a few roster changes and sort of stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's been good. Yeah, so it's for the last couple of seasons we've had a few different point guards. I know Hoppy was starting point guard at the start of the year when we played LAN, and then newly I've been playing with Brycey and a few other players, AD and a few other guys like that. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah, I'm a big fan of playing, with a lot of people that I enjoy actually playing with. And I've been playing with AD for the last 6-7 years. So he's one of my favorite teammates to play with. So it's been good so far.
I've got a bit of a spicy one for you.
Yeah.
Who's your main competition at center in the ANZPL?
It could be like there's a few. Obviously, there's some great centers in ANZPL. Probably a few of them would probably be like Farage and probably like Chris, to be honest. Because I feel like over the last, at least like over like the couple years, the last, like if you to average it out, New Era, Ruthless, and NWO being like sort of the top, sort of like the main teams in there. So I'd probably say either Farage or Chris, to be honest.
Yeah, cool.
We asked Harry this question a little bit. A couple of weeks ago, and this is a bit of a tricky one. Who's your favorite player to play with?
On like not on my team, or like just like anyone.
Let's go.
Really.
Let's go both on your team, and then anyone on the server.
Like that wanted to play. Yeah. So my favorite player to play with would be AD, just because I've got a history with him. To be honest, we know each other out of game as well, so I think that's a big part of it as well. So he's probably definitely my favorite player. If it was not on my team that I'd like to team with, maybe it's a tough one. I'm not too sure. Maybe Harry would be good to play with. I never played with him before, so he'd be a decent pick. I like playing with Gideon and Farage from Ruthless when I played for them for a season. So probably one of those three.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, nice. What do you? Obviously, we've got a lot of people watching that might want to go to the next level. They want to take their game to the next level, whether that be that they might be playing in the rec like me, or they might be in the pro-am scene, wanting to get to that next level in the 2K league, or maybe pull out an MVP in the ANZPL next season. What's your best piece of advice for someone? Let's start with the rec. Someone that's in the rec that's, a decent player, but they want to take it to the next level in the pro-am league. What's your best advice for them?
Yeah, so obviously, in the rec, it's hard because it's like, a few of us play. Obviously, we'll play the rec if they're grinding up builds, but if you're good at the game and you stand out in the rec, people are going to wonder who you are. So it's just sort of about being consistent and just playing the game. But in general, like getting into pro-am, sort of like we've got Discord servers of ANZPL and Twitter and all that sort of stuff. So it's sort of about networking. So you can put a free agency post in the Discord, and then it's probably all about getting into the 10s. And then from the 10s, people start seeing who you are. And then, you put in effort, they, pick you up for leagues and sort of stuff like that. So I think that's sort of the best piece of advice, just always grinding the game and getting into the 10s lobbies is probably the best, just like networking, sort of like anything really. It's sort of just like knowing people, and then without knowing people, then no one's going to know, how good you can be.
I like that you put that in there, networking. That's a big thing with any job, I guess, that, you get to know people and you make a name for yourself and you work your way up from there. So, who would you say would be your biggest rival in ANZPL? So we know that there's teams like New Era who have been at the top for a long time, Unknown who have been good for a while. Talk us through the top 4 or 5 teams, and is there any rivalry there or any beef with any team that we could get spicy and televise some rivalry games?
Yeah. Obviously there's like rivalries between Nowhere Out would be a big one because we played them on LAN. We love playing each other most nights anyway, so there's probably a rivalry there. Same with Ruthless, I would say those. But like beef wise, at least not that I know of. I don't really have beef with probably like really anyone, to be honest. But there's definitely like rivalries against, obviously, because everyone wants to be the best team and put themselves at the next level. So there's definitely rivalries, but beef wise, I'm pretty chill when it comes to that.
I want to add to that. Who is the biggest shit talker, or who's the one that throws out the most amount of smack?
It's a tough one. I'm teaming, like I've played with few players, Usually just depends. I know Pope and Mitts love a bit of a shit talk, and
They do,
going to the next 2K, we're going to be playing together. But there's some But at the end of the day, like I think it's just all in game.
It is.
And then it's nothing it's nothing personal, but I know they like a bit of a shit talk. So they're a prime example, I think.
I like that you brought that up. It's purely in-game talk. It's not having a crack at anyone in real life. It's just
exactly
some people's way of trying to get inside your head to throw you off your game.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Who, I mean, there's some incredibly talented 2K players in the ANZPL. Who do you think in the league has the potential to potentially take it to the next level? Maybe make the 2K league. Are there any at the moment, minus Harry, obviously? Are there any? Is there anybody there that's a good shot at making the league next year?
Yeah, I think there's like heaps of talent in ANZ. I think obviously just being from Australia is a little bit difficult, and not being from North America. But I think like actual stick wise, there's I think Delay would be a prime example. He'd be really good in the league. In my personal opinion, I think he'd be a great asset to the league. I think there's plenty of players like the NWO boys, like Ruthless boys. I think Farage is a great player as well. I think he'd be a really good player in the league. There's a lot of players, obviously. I could name heaps. I think it's just mainly about sort of like it's not just your like stick skill. It's more about like your profile outside of the game as well, which I think a lot of players need to take into account.
So when you say your profile outside of the game, you mentioned earlier in the episode that you worked on that a fair bit in the lead up to you getting drafted. What kind of things did you do in the lead up to improve your profile?
Yeah, so basically like just going into like the APAC events that that were in Hong Kong and South Korea leading up to it. There's a lot of news outlets, so I took advantage of going on those, getting my actual name out, sort of bringing like a brand image. I put out an EPK, which is like a document, like sort of like a resume, online resume, just saying my stats and history of what I've done in the ANZ server. And then I made a YouTube in Melbourne CBD, just a video of myself, pretty much of just explaining who I am and why I'm doing this and all that sort of stuff. So sort of just getting your actual face out and who you are behind the game.
Yeah, nice. It's kind of like any other job application, really, isn't it? Like a lot of people think it's just a game, but it's when you want to make it more than that, you need to treat it like a job.
100%. Yeah, like it's if you want to go for something, it's just sort of putting your full effort in. Because there's like I say to a lot of people, like there's 150 to 200 people in the pool, and everyone knows that they can play. Like everyone in that top 150 people, are going to be good at the game. It's just what can you actually bring to the table more than the actual stick skill.
I like that you brought it up, that you've got to be able to sell yourself in order to look good in front of your peers and the people that are looking to draft. Earlier, before we jumped on, you spoke to us about you've just obtained a passport to head over to Canada.
Yeah.
You're talking about the lengths that you're going to want to make the league again and to play at the highest level. Talk us through what you're actually going to be doing later this year.
Yeah, so obviously I'm going to be here in Australia for the release of the game. So I'm going to be here for the next 2-3 months, play season 1 of ANZPL and hopefully make the LAN event that will be coming up. I'm not exactly sure when the dates are. But after that, I will be heading to Toronto in Canada, which, hopefully from there, play the combine and further pre-draft over there just to, help my chances of getting drafted this year. Which I'm pretty excited about. I love overseas. I love traveling. So just being in a different country and be able to play against the best players in the world will be awesome. And
you're obviously playing against the guys that are also vying to try and get drafted as well, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll be playing. I've got a few guys lined up and a few teams lined up for comps. So really excited to jump into that and sort of put all my effort into making it back in this season.
Yeah,
good on you, man. Hopefully
we get you there. Watching the episode, for those of you watching this episode too, we'll keep track of how your progress is going and keep everyone up to date via our social media as well. So, what positions do you think have the biggest skill gap in 2K?
I think obviously each position has its own sort of skill gap. There's definitely positions that obviously require more skill. So point guard is probably a no-brainer. It definitely takes the most out of any position on the court. But then you can go, then there's arguments of, basically anything from that. Personally, I would go center second, just because it's like this. Like, people say it wouldn't be. Some people would say it's not that difficult, but it's sort of like the second most impactful position, in my opinion, on the court, behind point guard. And then you can really go anywhere else. So, like in this year, especially, I would probably even put power forward third or even second. So it really just depends on the game. But each position obviously has its own sort of, skill gap in a sense.
Good answer. Very Switzerland of you. I like it. A little bit of a spicy one to finish up the ANZPL portion of things, mate. If I was to ask you for an all-star starting five for the ANZPL, you maybe the best position or best player or two in each position in the ANZPL. Let's just say from last season.
Yep.
Who do you reckon?
It's a tough one. There's obviously a few players, but to be honest, I'd put Harry as point guard no matter what, just because he's in the league, and he's made the league. So in my opinion, that'd be the smartest decision. Shooting guard, I'd definitely put Delay without a question. Delay or AD, but probably Delay, to be totally honest. Then like the lock position could really be, to be honest, it could really be anyone out of Gideon, Mona, and Pope or Mitts, to be honest. It's just really depending on the team. They're all great locks, so I wouldn't be able to actually really put one there. Power forward, that's a tough one. There's heaps of good power forwards, to be honest. Like there's Eugene Clarks, there's a lot of players that don't actually play power forward that are really good on it as well. So that position's insanely tough as well. And then center, there's a lot of great centers, Chris for the NWO and Farage, and there's heaps of great centers in the ANZPL. So I wouldn't be able to name it'd be so hard to name a starting five because there's just so many great players. You just sort of work out the chemistry between the five. For sure.
Plenty of good players you've just named there. So I'm sure there's going to be a few happy guys in the server over the next few days when this one goes live. Mate, before we chat about 2K24, because look, there's plenty of news coming out. 2K24 is all over YouTube at the moment, and the game's about a week and a bit away, a little bit over a week away now from launching. Yeah. So before we do that, shout out to the Standard Squeeze. The Standard Squeeze, obviously, helping us drink responsibly and conveniently. I've got my 4-in-1 here. They also have some quality merchandise on their website. They've also got this kind of bottle, I guess, that you can use and you can squeeze and fill it up. Mickey Dell's got one on screen there for everybody who wants to get an idea on what it is. It shoots basically up a 30 ml shot. For anybody who maybe has a little bit of trouble pouring a 30 ml shot, for one, maybe that might be me. Maybe it won't. But the guys there, we're lucky enough to work with them closely, and they give us a discount code of 15% off. So you can use Insight15 at checkout at thestandardsqueeze.com and get yourself some, maybe even something for your dad for Father's Day. If you are a father yourself, you might be able to use the discount code or flick it over to the missus, and hopefully she looks after you in a couple of days' time. Mate, like we said, 2K is a week away. There's tons of news coming out daily, Milo. Now, I know, I think I saw you on Twitter. You're in a Spaces having a listen to a fair bit going on today, as was I. I want to try and get as much info as possible about what's happening with the badges. And look, there's tons of news coming out. What are your initial thoughts on 2K24? Do you think it's a W? Do you think it's an L? Talk to us a little bit about where you're at.
Yeah, obviously I haven't played the game yet. But from what I've seen so far is so far pretty good, to be honest. I'm sort of a person that needs to actually play it for myself to actually work out whether it's amazing or not. But from what the changes that they've done, it looks like they've actually done quite a bit, and a lot of it I think comes down to Wolf, who used to play for Pacers Gaming. He's now a developer on the team, and he's changed the game and made it, I think, a lot different, which I'm totally excited for. So it's only a week away, and real keen to get into it, man.
Absolutely.
We've seen changes to the badges system, the way they're earned, and that you can lose badge progress if they're not used. There are also 24 new badges added and some popular badges removed. Are there any that grab your attention as a big man this year, like Bulldozer, Immovable, Enforcer, these sorts of badges?
Yeah, like obviously Bulldozer looks really good, but I'm not really gonna until I actually use it, because I know they hyped up Bully this year and it wasn't like great. Yeah. So I need to actually see it for myself but obviously that sounds cool. And yeah, a lot of the main badges are still in there that I use. But yeah, obviously definitely Bulldozer was caught my eye for sure.
They've removed a few as well, right? So
Yeah, they removed
I don't know
yeah.
how many, but there's a few gone. Any maybe badges that are gone that you wish weren't, or that you wish were still around?
I think I don't really miss any of them that affected me. Besides, for some reason, they got rid of defensive leader like last year, and they've got rid of floor general this year, which I guess it's a +4, but it was sort of I used to had a high pass accuracy, so I could run off floor general for my team, so I sort of liked that. But I guess I can see why it's a bit of an advantage, but every team can do it, so I understand it from that point. But that was a cool badge to run, I felt.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to miss Hoff Floor General from Dell when he plays with me. He makes me a little bit better than I actually am. So that's going to be a shame. But anyway, we'll make do. Mate, there's been a lot of gameplay floating around today. I think today might have been, or yesterday might have been the first day we actually saw some decent gameplay on YouTube from these creators now that have got their NDAs lifted, which is fantastic for us. We get to see some content. Have they finally found the right balance now between offense and defense? Because I feel like maybe the last couple of years have been very offense heavy. And you're obviously in a very defensive position, as is Dell here as well. What do you guys think about that? Do you feel like maybe they're starting to make it a bit harder for guards and a little bit easier to lock them up?
Yeah, it's I think from what everyone is saying, at least, they're saying that it's real defensive heavy, at least. Like a lot of the bumps on the lock, the locks are saying that it's like real bumpy, and that's great. But hopefully they don't make the offense too much worse. Otherwise, point guards won't have a good time. So,
No.
but I think I think hopefully they find the right balance. That's what they need, because it's been a little bit hit and miss the last couple of years. So I think they're going to get it right, especially with, like I said, with Wolf being in the 2K league and him jumping on board. I think that's such a great asset. So I think he's going to get defense right. I think defense is going to be good. It's just I'm a little bit worried about hopefully the offense is still there, though.
And they do it every year, though, don't they? Like every year at the start of the game, the point guards are getting bodied and stripped, and everyone's complaining, saying, "Oh, it's too tough. Defense is too OP," and then they adjust, and then the game becomes pretty offense heavy from there. So hopefully you're right. Hopefully they do find a nice balance between both. Yeah. Del, any other questions on 2K24 or anything you wanted to cover?
No, I think you've covered it all. More importantly, we just want to say thank you to Milo for jumping on with us at short notice. It's nice that we get the opportunity here on behalf of the ANZPL and NBA2K to show off, I guess, some of the premier players in our server, Harry being one and yourself, Milo, being the other. We've got some more prominent players in our server coming on the show, both prior to 2K24 and post 2K24 coming out. So I encourage people to jump on board, subscribe, listen to us on all good audio decks here on YouTube, all that sort of good stuff. You got anything else you'd like to add, Milo, before we take it away?
No, I think you covered everything, guys. Appreciate you having me on here. I'm happy to do it anytime. And looking forward to see the next couple of episodes.
Good on you, mate. And as a thank you for coming on, we'll hook you up with some Standard Squeeze stuff. Thanks to the Standard Squeeze as well for looking after us. And mate, they'll look after you like they do us. So we'll get that sent out to you after the episode as a thank you as well. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Appreciate it, guys. No, I appreciate everything.
And guys, make sure to, if you're watching, hit subscribe, hit like. We will see you for the next episode. We'll do one more episode before 2K24 comes out. Very excited about that one. Until then, you've been listening to the Insight ANZPL show. Catch you later.
Peace.
Enjoy.